doing so impartially, dispassionately, and soberly. And that is exactly what we have done, and that is how we have arrived at this point. We have charged the defendant, Lo Ai Al-Najee, with 2 felony counts. The first of which, involuntary manslaughter, a felony. The second count, battery causing serious bodily injury, also a felony. Accompanying each of these felony counts is a special allegation that in the commission of those crimes, the defendant personally inflicted great bodily injury upon Paul Kessler. The significance of the special allegations is that they elevate these offenses to strikes under California's 3 strikes law, which makes punishment prison eligible. Involuntary manslaughter is the killing of another without malice. To be sure, we received no evidence, no statements, no information whatsoever that the defendant arrived at that intersection, Thousand Oaks and Westlake Boulevards, on November the 5th with the intent to kill, harm, or injure anyone. But nevertheless, as the charging document sets forward, it is alleged that he committed involuntary manslaughter, specifically that he killed another with criminal negligence, specifically reckless conduct that carried with it a high risk of death or great bodily injury, and that a reasonable person would have expected and appreciated this risk. As to the second count, battery with serious bodily injury, it is the willful touching of another in a harmful or offensive way that results in significant and serious bodily injury. As we all know, tragically, Paul Kessler succumbed to those serious bodily injuries within 24 hours of the incident. Our task was to search for the truth and to achieve clarity in this case, and that is what we have done. This was not an easy undertaking, given the disparate, often conflicting interpretations and statements, and also the fragmentary nature of the evidence. But nevertheless, working closely with our sheriff detectives, additional important pieces of information came forward. Specifically, in filing these charges, we relied upon new physical and forensic evidence, as well as findings regarding the injuries to the left side of Paul Kessler's face. In addition, and I want to be clear, we were able to take video as well as digital footage, put it together, and establish a clear sequence of events leading up to the confrontation. These new pieces of evidence, as well as the technology that we utilized, has permitted our office to file these criminal charges. But that is not to say, as Sheriff Freihoff mentioned, that we are not seeking additional information, videos, photos, statements from the public. We indeed are. And if there are individuals who have any of those items, please come forward and share them with us. I want to comment on what was not filed. We did not file murder because there was no intent on the defendant's part to commit one. We also did not file a hate crime at this time, although that investigation is ongoing. Simply put, looking at the statements as well as the words that accompany the act, we cannot at this time meet the elements of a hate crime. But nevertheless, we will continue to explore and investigate that offense as well as that special allegation. I want to speak momentarily just a little bit about our judicial process. It is a marvel to the world. We have a unique and very well-regarded criminal justice system. And simply because somebody has been charged with a crime or arrested does not necessarily mean he or she has committed those crimes. In the United States and the state of California, each and every individual is afforded the presumption of innocence, fairness, and due process. We have an obligation to safeguard victims' rights as well as the defendants, and that is exactly what we will do. Yesterday, Sheriff Freihoff and I had an opportunity to meet virtually with the Kessler family. We met with them for approximately half an hour, and I want to convey to all of you what they conveyed to us. They are mourning, they are grieving, and they are asking for privacy during this very difficult period. We have heard about Paul Kessler and his positions about Israel, his political activism, but I want to share with you just a few other details about Paul Kessler, because in this process we should never forget that a human life was taken and that a victim exists. Paul Kessler worked in medical sales for a number of decades. He also taught sales and marketing to a number of satellite college campuses, and he was also a pilot. He was married for 43 years. He leaves behind a son. We want to continue to remember and honor Paul Kessler and the tragic loss of life that has occurred. I want to thank the Ventura County community, in particular our Muslim and our Jewish leaders. Throughout the last 12 days, the community of Muslim and Jewish leaders have shown restraint. Their comments have been measured. The respect for the criminal process has become well known. They trusted in law enforcement to arrive at this point. And I want to acknowledge and thank the Muslim and Jewish leaders for their public comments and their continuing support for our efforts. Lastly, the defendant, Lawai al-Najee, will be arraigned today in courtroom 22 of the Ventura County Superior Court at 1:30. We will now take your questions.
Mr. District
Yes.
Attorney, my question, I'm Stephanie Elam from CNN. My question is, previously there was not actual video of the incident going down. Has there actually, through that, all of those different elements that you've seen, is there actual imagery of what happened? And if so, could you also speak to the megaphone and whether or not that was used?
I'll take your first question first. You can imagine when you have 60 statements and 600 pieces of evidence, it takes a while to go through all of those pieces of evidence. That's what we have done to arrive at this point. We have been able to take video as well as digital photos, put them together to achieve a clear sequence of events leading up to the confrontation. With respect to pieces of evidence, we do not comment on their status or their location. Yes, Pete.
Concerning the fact that you say you're still looking for additional information and additional facts that you're finding, but at the same time you've ruled out a hate crime, are you ruling it out completely, even if you get additional information or witness statements or video from people? Could it change the nature of the charges?
We have not ruled out a hate crime. The investigation into an alleged hate crime is ongoing. There are still search warrants that remain outstanding, the returns of which we are awaiting, but at this moment in time, we do not have the elements of a hate crime satisfied. Thus, we cannot charge it in this criminal document.
Eric, was Mr. Kessler actually rolling video at the time of this? Is that part of the evidence that you're looking at?
I can't comment on specific pieces of evidence, but I can nevertheless let you know that there are a number of videos and still photos, and we are utilizing all of them in the development and prosecution of this case.
As far that is meeting that hate crime threshold. I know a lot of thousands of folks have reached out to us. Can you talk about the elements that kind of have to be the criteria there?
What we are looking for in particular is whether or not the acts, the impact, the force was accompanied by specific hate speech, specific statements or words that demonstrate an antipathy, a hatred towards a specific group. We don't have that at this point.
Could you also, I'm sorry, one last question. Could you also characterize what Mr. Al-Naji's role is at Moore Park? Is he a professor? Can you speak to that?
I don't have that information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
Thank you all very much.
If you need court paperwork filed, you can let me know. We'll get it for you.
I don't see my thank you.